In a landmark decision, the Supreme Court has reinstated an order halting the disbursement of federal allocations to the state and recognized the Martins Amaewhule-led faction as the legitimate Rivers State House of Assembly. This ruling has sparked intense debate with implications for governance, political stability, and public service delivery. Now, to dissect these developments, we have a lineup of key voices from the political and analytical landscape.
Yes, indeed. Joining us now to provide insight into this development is first the Publicity Secretary of the River State APC Caretaker Committee, and that's Mr. Chibike Ikenga. Also joining us is for more in-depth in terms of the economic and governance implication is Ugochukwu Oputa, is a seasoned Public Affairs Analyst and Commentator, and also Biola Festus, who is our correspondent live in Rivers State as well. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Let's start with you, Mr. Ikenga, shall we? What is the APC's official stance on the ruling recognizing the Amaewhule-led assembly and freezing federal allocation to Rivers State?
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, viewers as well. Firstly, I'd like to correct the fact that I'm no longer the caretaker Publicity Secretary of the APC. Congress had been conducted by the national leadership of the party, and now they emerged as the substantive Publicity Secretary of the party in the states.
Duly noted.
That taking, APC as a party in the state, had canvassed elaborately, even on this platform and so many other platforms, on the trajectory by the River State government, particularly with their disobedience to court orders, court rulings, court judgments, and that it had implications, and that at the most auspicious and appropriate time, that the sledgehammer will be hit on the government. And that's that position was part of what culminated in the decision of the Supreme Court, like you have rightly mentioned. So as a party, we know that we believe, like Professor Evidaisi did, talk about rule of law, espoused it with other authors. You also know that Montesquieu did talk about separation of powers. And because the government here in Rivers State refused to abide by those principles of democracy, and then the government also refused to obey its own oaths of office and oaths of allegiance, particularly for the executive arm under Governor Sim Fubara. These are some of the crises that have led to where we are, and that the position of the Supreme Court will support them in total, and we're happy that rule of law had been restated and reinstated and reiterated in Rivers State. Going forward, we believe that everyone must abide by the law, must obey the Constitution, and then that will also guarantee peace, tranquility, and development as a party. That's my view.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ikenga. Now, Biola Festus, Biola, thank you for bringing us that report from during the week. You brought us a report as the matters unfolded and the annulment of the elections and all of that, but your report also focused plenty on the people, which is where I'm very interested in. Could you please take us through that report and tell us how exactly the people of Rivers State are taking these announcements and these happenings and how it's affecting their daily lives?
Okay, one thing that is worthy of note is that Rivers people are a very politically inclined people. When you talk about politics in Rivers State, every man on the street understands it, and they are also actively involved in the politics of the state. Now, when I went to the street on Friday to get what the people are saying, they were not so much concerned about party struggles and party fights, because to them, Rivers State politics is a game of who pays the highest bidder. That's what they say. So they are not concerned about who stays in seat and who does not. But what they were particular about is how it affects them, their daily life, because everything in Rivers State depends on the policy of the state, depends on politicians. Even every businessman would have to have some sort of loyalty to the political class in the state in order to thrive. That is how Rivers State is in terms of politics. So their cries were they would be affected financially, because we have the civil servants depending on the government for their salaries. So if this federal allocation stops, it will definitely affect them. Yes, the state can operate with internally generated revenues, But how far can it go? Of course, -1 in every finance is a big loss, or can have a very great impact.
Well, and just thinking about the impact of that, right? Let me come to Oputa and ask you, Mr. Oputa, the Supreme Court's ruling to freeze federal allocations to Rivers State is unprecedented. We are reinstalling something that was ruled in the first place, that they were going to get the federal allocation, and now it's been frozen. What is going to be the immediate impact of this on just the social, economic issue for Rivers State?
Like you unprecedented, with respect to this well-respected justice of the Supreme Court, it's something that I personally am waiting for the certified copy of that judgment. But then again, from where we sit, freezing the what is due to a state because of internal political wrangling, it's an overkill, because a lot depends on that. Hospitals depend on that, doctors depend on that, police servants. A whole lot is going on that depends on that federal allocation. And I think we have to ask ourselves, is really justification morally? Because that's responsible for a large chunk of the revenue this our company gets and distributes across the 36 states of the federation.
Mr. Oputa, my apologies, but it seems we're having some technical difficulties. It might be because you are connected to Bluetooth to your microphone. If you could help us adjust that so we can get the full worth of your submission here this morning. While you're doing that, let me come back to Mr. Ikenga. Mr. Ikenga, there has been a vacuum in the state when it comes to governance with everything that's been happening and how it affects the people. I would like you to please address this vacuum, especially now that this ruling has come out and that and the impact that it might have on the people. How do you think the people of Rivers State will live their lives now with this new ruling?
Okay, thank you. Some of these challenges we had were completely avoidable had the governor and his team listened to wise counsel and refused to pander to the whims and caprices of crisis entrepreneurs. Those whose interests were to completely defraud the state through misleading the governor and the executive to taking unconstitutional steps to placate them. So, because the Supreme Court had taken these decisions now and had insisted that rule of law must be followed, due processes must be followed, and that the Constitution must be followed. Of course, you know that that's what guarantees stability in governance. And then when the stability comes, then you talk about accountability as well, because the Rivers State House of Assembly has to checkmate the excesses of the executive by ensuring that the executive plays according to the rules and obeys the laid-down principles upon which separation of powers within the arms of government are guided. So from this point, there will no longer be any dictatorial or any absolute power from any part of the arm of government, particularly the executive. The executive has been very overreaching. The executive has prevented the House of Assembly from performing, had blocked several decisions that will enhance good governance in the state. And now that the Supreme Court has taken these bold steps, the people will have a greater participation in the governance of their own affairs. Mm-hmm. And once that is guaranteed, through the Rivers State House of Assembly under Right Honorable Martins Amaewhule-led, things will begin to go as required. But that will also depend, because we do know that the Rivers State government, particularly the executive arm of government, does have a penchant for disobedience to court judgment. So we await their decisions as to how they want to go about these Supreme Court decisions. But we want to plead and ask them to do so, to obey it to the letter as the only panacea to ensuring that there is peace, to ensuring that the people get what they deserve, their yearnings and aspirations are addressed properly and in an unaccountable manner, so that everyone in the state will be happy about development of the state.
Mr. Ikenga, I think you just captured two very important things that I was thinking. One is the application of this court ruling by both parties, and then the other one is reconciliation, because whether you look at this way or that, it affects the people of River State. How do you think it will go onward?
Okay, thank you. I think that in APC's, our press release immediately after the court judgment, we called on the governor to see this as a way forward, to try to see that he obeys the decisions of the Supreme Court as a way to bring in the entire state together, because integration here in the state is most important. You know, having sidelined the River State House Assembly under Right Honorable Martins Amaewhule-led, and now they have been reinstated by the Supreme Court. It is important that as a governor who heads the executive, he needs to midwife a meeting of the leadership of the state. He needs to midwife a meeting of the leadership of the government in the state to ensure that everyone is on board, because all of us in River State were all part of the state. No, the state does not belong to one or two persons. So the governor has to take decisions in the larger interest of the people. And as governor, he must take those tough decisions that ordinarily he would not love to take. But because of the interest of the state, he has to do that. And we implore him to so do, if actually is interested in bringing everyone together and avert divisions.
Let's see if Mr. Oputa, as your audio been thinking, you just if you can go at my last question at you regarding the Supreme Court's ruling freezing the federal allocation to River State.
Yes, like I said that its impact on the state is enormous and can still catastrophic if not holistically looked at. Yes, we know, also understand onus of this struggle. The governor elected by the people of River State sit down to ensure that the rule of law is being followed. There have been arguments that the section of the Constitution that has to the section and the vacation of the governor have said that on the 11th of December 2023, these lawmakers, by their own evolution field, effected all progressive they announced their defection on the House and defected. It's an automatic process. And the governor has said that upon this defection, they seek to be members of the House. This argument is still there. It's pending on the at the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt. It's also it's something that is yet to be judicially addressed. Of course, we know that the eminent justices in their own wisdom has adjourned. Did not capture issue of defection. Did these members, did they defect or not? Are you saying that their defection does not amount to them losing their seats? So while Mr. Ikenga is also saying yes, the members of the House are trying to enforce the Constitution and the rule of law, the governor, as the Chief Secretary of the state that was elected by the large majority of River State, down to ensure that the right is on. Well, on the issue of the allocation, no problem. Remember that part of the benefit in democracy, the current president a legal battle with the federal government. He ran the Lagos state for a very long time without the state federal allocation. It is moments like this that leaders are expected to challenge the system and ensure that democracy, the House of Assembly members, the Federal House of Assembly members have their case, the Supreme Court have given judgment. That's fine. It's also duty bound that this other case to a logical conclusion so that our democracy can at the end of the day benefit. There have been precedents in this case. The case of Cross River State is here to refer to. So it's important that because in the eyes of the judgment from Justice Omotosho was instituted before their defection. And so when you go by that, they are not considering defection as at the point court. But then also know that the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt is also pursuing a case on defection. And when that is exhausted, they are now truly saying the fact have been exhausted. But for now, the reality is that instructions have been given to the CBN to withhold allocation to Rivers State. And it's expected to abide by it. The governor is yet to make any public statement, but we're expected that by Monday, in the coming days, the governor will formally address the state and maybe the guideline as things follow. But I know that the governor is someone that is that has shown to abide by the and protect and well-being of Rivers people, and also in line with the Constitution of the Federal Republic. And going forward, we're going to see the trajectory this will take. But as regards the implication on Rivers people, it is so sad. We should consider that first, medical emergency, fire service, civil servants, all these things depend on this fund. But I'm definitely sure that it is situations like this that requires us to even be more committed and our strong will and strong resolve to push and far as much as we can in terms of democracy to Rivers people. And the people of Rivers State are not disturbed.
All right.
That processes like this are bound to happen. But at the end of the day, I feel like the end is not too far again.
Mr. Oputa, that's Ugochukwu Oputa. I want to say thank you, and also to you, Biola Festus. You brought us that report. Your Vox Pop did see where, indigents and residents of Rivers State, a particular man said the Supreme Court is clearly not he said, and I'm going to paraphrase him here, that the Supreme Court is clearly not the last hope of the common man. That's how he put it. Festus, Biola, many thanks for doing that. And also to you, Mr. Chibike Ikenga, as well, for taking out the time to join us. Lady and gentlemen, thank you.